In today's lesson, we're going to explain the E flat major and C minor grid. We're not going to be playing the ukulele today. We're going to be doing a lecture on explaining the grid. You want to go and grab your music sheet that says grid scale pattern for the key of E flat major or C minor. So pause the tutorial, grab your music sheet, come on back. We'll get started in a second. Okay, so you got your music sheet. We're explaining the grid for E flat major or C minor. E flat major is not a popular key to play in, but C minor, the key of C minor is relatively familiar and popular for people to play in. So that's why we're kind of going over the grid for that. There are folks who do play in the key of E flat, but it's not a popular key, and the reason being is that you have 3 flats in it, and you just have to be aware of the flats when you're playing. But C minor, so we're going to go over the grid so that if you're playing in the key of C minor, you can utilize all the notes that's playing. Keep in mind, we'll keep track of our signature. There's three flats, and they are B flat, E flat, and A flat. In fact, since we're speaking about that now, you'll notice that the E and the A note on the open strings are not listed. And the reason for that is because the E flat is the note that you need to be aware of. So you can't really play an open E string or an open A string because it won't fit in the key of E flat major and C minor. That's why we just left it out. The other tutorials we left it in, but we're starting to get into a little bit more specific areas of playing the scale and the keys. Okay, so in this tutorial, what you want to do is, in addition to the notes that you have taken for the family of chords and the grid that was explained in the very first tutorial for this section of the E flat major and C minor category, you want to write in some additional notes that's going to help you. Hopefully you have some good notes taken already, but please add on to the notes if you need to. It's really going to help you out. Because in the upcoming tutorial we're going to show you how to practice and play the grid, and it's really beneficial to you to have that knowledge or foundation before you get there. Now, what's really important is that you have a good idea and understanding about how the family of chords work and relate to each other, and how it works together in relationship to the grid. Okay, so in other words, by using the family of chords from this key that we're talking about, E flat major, C minor, any one of these notes that you play are going to work when you're playing using these family of chords or some of the family of chords. Okay? Keep in mind, when you vary from the family of chords, this might have to vary a little bit. So what I'm trying to say is to keep it basic until you get a strong understanding. Stick to the stick to the family of chords in relationship to the notes that you have on the grid. Okay. Once again, you know, there's no listing for the G string because of the high G string, but if you decide to get a low G string at your local music store, put it on, you can utilize the entire fretboard. That means when you're playing your scale patterns, you can utilize your high G string, which would be your low G string once you put on the low G string. That's something you want to think about if you're going to take that route. Okay. Now, the main goal for playing the grid for E flat major and C minor is you want to think about the entire grid. So like, think of it as a map that you can go to play and utilizing your notes, as long as you're within the family of chords. Okay. We offer a course called Construction of Chords, and we teach you how chords are constructed. In other words, what notes make up the chord, and by knowing those notes in the chord, you can also utilize the notes in the grid to play around the chord, through the chord, etc., giving it a more interesting or flavorful sound. Okay, so so far we've covered the basic E flat position, and it's located right over here. We covered that already. We covered the C minor basic position scale, and that's right here. We covered it right here. So now, if you think about it, technically, you kind of know this area over here because you got the E flat major scale in the basic position. You got the C minor scale in the basic position. So from right here, you should be very familiar with it. So you can kind of connect it in your mind right here. And then we did the E flat extended scale right here. Goes all the way up to there. So really, there's just a few notes that we're missing that's left from the grid. But if you start to connect them and get comfortable with connecting the sections, the grid really isn't really that overwhelming. Now in the upcoming tutorial, we're going to show you how to break it down into sections and practice it. We discussed we discussed modes that are scales within the scale. We're not going to get into the modes too much, but just want to remind you that it is an option for you to learn some more. I want to let you know that by teaching you the grid this way, all the notes in the grid, it really encompasses all the modes that are within the scale. But if you want to break it down and do some research and study on what modes are and how they work in conjunction with scales, by all means, you can look it up on the internet. They got some information. Go to a local music store or your library. Look up modes, M-O-D-E-S, modes in your major scales. Okay. So the point when playing is you want to understand two things. You want to understand the sections of how they piece together. So in other words, we went over to C minor basic scale, D flat basic scale, E flat extended scale. So you can see like we're connecting the sections, okay? And eventually, as you learn all the sections for the grid, you basically just connect them. Just connect all the section, and that makes up the entire grid for you to utilize that resource to play wherever you want. Okay, and in the tutorial of the E flat extended, we showed you how to play the grid, and then coming up, we're also going to show you how to play the grid. We're going to teach you some techniques to utilize to make your melodic lead line sound more interesting, more colorful. So along with that information and understanding the grid, you're going to have a lot of resources for playing your own melodies, your own lead lines, and also creating your own melodic lead lines. That's very important to you. Okay, so once again, the goal is to envision the whole grid, the whole fretboard, and be able to play it from that standpoint. But that can be overwhelming sometimes, so you want to just, in the upcoming tutorial, we'll show you how to break it down. When you break it down into different sections, eventually, as you get comfortable, you want to connect them, okay? Connect all the sections, and then you can work on the whole grid and being able to play it. So that's the goal when you move on to understanding and being able to play and connect the entire grid via sections. Okay, with that being said, listen to this again, take some notes on it, get comfortable, get a good strong understanding before moving on to the next tutorial, because that's when we're going to show you how to practice it and play it. Okay, so when you're ready and comfortable, we'll see you for the next lesson.